This is the money of the future, the Safadean Amos speech about the Bitcoin standard. This is digital gold. And so gold has an $18 trillion market cap. Bitcoin's 1.8 trillion. I think it could go 10x where it is today. If I'm right, we're going to 900,000, $1 million a coin. Okay. And again, I'm not saying it won't move like gold moves after that, but I think it gets there over the next 5 or 10 years, and I want to be there for it.
What up, it's Mr. X to the Z Exhibit.
What's up, guys? It's Andy Frisella.
This is your boy, Scaramucci.
This is Ryan Serhant.
This is Shingy.
Hi, it's Patrick McNiven.
This is Sonia Service-Penny.
This is Director X.
Hey, everybody, I'm Forbes Riley.
Yo, this is Goldie.
This is Amberly Lago.
This is Chris Voss.
Michael Francis here.
Yo, this is Charlie Tuna. Hey, what's up? It's Billy G.
And you're listening to the Run GpG
podcast.
Well, I'm going to go hang out and listen to David's next podcast from the Run GpG.
You might hear something you like. Peace.
Today, I am excited to welcome back a returning guest. Anthony Scaramucci is a successful entrepreneur. He's a thought leader and best-selling author. He's also the founder and managing partner of SkyBridge, as well as the founder and chairman of SALT, a global thought leadership forum. You may also recall Anthony's infamous tenure as White House Communications Director and Chief Strategy Officer under President Donald Trump during his first term. Anthony is back on the show to give his unique perspective on the current state of the union, we call it, and talk about his newest book, The Little Book of Bitcoin, where he dives into the world of digital assets and how Bitcoin is reshaping finance. Anthony, it's great to see you again. Welcome back to the show.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And since you're allowing me to promote my book, I'll just throw that here for your YouTube followers. That's Hermes orange there, David. Okay. And so thank you. The book is doing well. And obviously, Bitcoin is an asset that we're big believers on. Last time we were together, I was explaining to you the flack I was taking for being in Bitcoin. And I guess, you never feel vindicated in life, and Bitcoin is quite volatile. So I've been humbled by life and market. So I'm not ready to declare victory yet, but I do like directionally where things are going. And I think Bitcoin is going to be part of a long-term strategic asset in lots of portfolios, including institutional investor portfolios, sovereign wealth funds, et cetera. So I'm long-term bullish on Bitcoin.
Yeah, us as well. I agree with you there. I do want to unpack and get into a few of the details there. Like I said, I was excited when I saw the book. So somebody like you who has made SkyBridge has made a pivot to, digital assets in Bitcoin. So I do want to unpack that. But when we have the famous Anthony Scaramucci on the show, I really do want to get your perspective on all that's taken place over the past year, because it seems like a decade since we've had you on the show, but it hasn't. It's only been a year, because a year ago we were in the thick of the election, the race there. But now it's official, right? Trump is back in the White House for a second term. I wanted to ask you this question because it's really interesting what he's been doing over the past few weeks. Like, how would you compare the early stages of this term to his first, which you were a part of? Is this playing out as you predicted, or are we seeing a different approach this time around, especially in terms of his leadership style?
Well, I would say as predicted. I would say that it's a little bit more organized. I would say that he's more experienced, frankly. He did the presidency one time before. I think he brought people into the presidency, myself included, that were less cultish with him and more about balance. I mean, I got fired 48 hours after he told me I was a deep stater. And I laughed. I looked at him. I was like, I'm a deep stater. I mean, I've been to Washington like one time on a school field trip. I'm definitely not a deep stater, but I am somebody that took an oath to the Constitution and want to abide by the document. And I saw Trump, and people should see him, President Trump, as a guardian of the institution of the presidency. I got told in the 8th grade that was the people's house. That's why you're allowed to have a tour of it. And that the president is there caretaking that institution on behalf of the American people, looking after the American people. I didn't see it as a fiefdom or an autocratic realm. And I didn't see it as a destination to be a wrecking ball for the American society or the North American group of people that have been longstanding allies. I didn't see it that way. So I got summarily fired very quickly. But he has a group of people now with him that are willing acolytes to what he wants to do. And with Trump, I'll say this to you before you ask me another question. With Trump, it's a buffet table, David. You gotta buy the whole buffet. You get force-fed stuff that you don't like at the buffet table. You want to go to the buffet table with your plate and you want some tax cuts and maybe you want some deregulation and maybe you want a little bit of pro-crypto policy. And those are things you may want. But he says, no, you can't just eat that. You've got to eat my meme coin that I'm going to launch 48 hours before the presidency. You gotta eat my Governor Trudeau, and we're going to make Canada the 51st state and the Gulf of America. You got to eat my potential acquisition of Greenland, and you got to eat my disavowal of Western democracies, and you got to eat me telling Volodymyr Zelensky that he's a dictator. So in other words, the buffet table from Trump is everything. And normal people that look at that are like, that's, we don't need that. Honestly, we don't need that. And moreover, he's been favorable for Bitcoin. He's made me richer. But at the same time, he's taking something out of Bitcoin and the market. This meme coin stuff that he did with his wife has been a disaster. It's really hurt the Solana network. It's really hurt Bitcoin.
Well, it is crashing. It's been a bad week.
Yeah, it's been a bad week.
One more question I do have to ask you about before we move on to the book. We're getting there. We're getting there. One more question is a lot of discussion about Elon Musk and his influence, with Trump in the White House. What is going on there? Like, have you given that any thought? Like, what's your take on Elon? Because watching him in the Oval Office, standing next to, it's just, a lot of people are a little confused by it and wondering what the whole situation is or what the relationship is.
Well, first of all, I respect Elon Musk, and I will tell your viewers and listeners that I am an owner of SpaceX. I do own X. I have a piece of XAI as an investor, and I think Elon Musk is a brilliant entrepreneur. He's a quirky guy, and he's now gone what he would say dark MAGA, which I think is a mistake for him. I got in trouble with the hard right when I said Elon should stick to business. They thought I was threatening him. I'm not threatening him. He's not wired for Washington, Elon Musk. So what will end up happening is his businesses will get hurt. He will get hurt. I'm not saying he's going to get hurt physically, but I'm saying that they'll do things to him that I wish they wouldn't do to him. Very successful, genius-like human being. But what's going on right now is Elon Musk got jilted by the Democrats. Bobby Kennedy got jilted by the Democrats. And so the Democrats have to answer for that. Remember, the rise of Donald Trump is concomitant to the desecration and the dematerialization of the Democratic Party. They can't get them together. Will Rogers said he was once a member of 6 disorganized parties. He's a Democrat. That's exactly what they're doing right now. There's no cohesion. There was a failed baton transfer intergenerationally. Biden needed to have stepped out of that race in September of 23. And there should have been a robust primary, and then a challenger would have beaten Donald Trump. They did everything wrong. They gave Vice President Harris 107 days to try to beat Donald Trump, the most famous person in the world, and she lost narrowly. She only lost by 1.5% of the vote. And so you have to look at it in the context of everything. But what they did to Elon Musk was ridiculous. They invite him to the EV summit. They then have the UAW president call them and say he can't be at the EV summit. And Biden should have said to him, are you crazy? I got to keep this guy in the fold as a Democrat. He's coming to the summit, and you're going to shut up and take it. But they disinvited Musk. So Musk went crazy. He deployed his ego, and he helped Donald Trump. Donald Trump was shitting all over Elon Musk in 2018 and 19. He's on his knees begging, all that that he did. Now they're lovers. All of a sudden, it doesn't work that way, right? So these are two guys that love a lot of attention. They've got gigantic egos. And in my business, past performance is not an indication of future results, but in human personalities, it is. Donald Trump has alienated everybody, including his wife, his family members. He's alienated every one of his staffers eventually. And Elon Musk will be alienated from Donald Trump. I see him as the Steve Bannon of the 2.0 in the administration. So that's a 6 to 8 month run. And then Trump will get tired of him. But Elon is so rich, Trump's not going to blow him up. It's not going to be a Pyrrhic bounce from the White House or a Pyrrhic bounce from the scene. It'll be one of these things. Elon, you did a good job. We saved $100 or $200 million from Doge. Bye-bye. go back to rockets and electric cars. Okay. And that's what will happen. If it doesn't happen, you'll invite me back on and I'll say, wow, Donald Trump is a changed man. He was able to, at age 79, he'll be 79 on the 14th of June. He was able to, at 79, as an old dog, learn new tricks. And him and Elon Musk are great partners.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening. And he gave a big tell at the cabinet meeting this week. He said, whoever doesn't like Elon Musk, speak out now. Okay, that's a projection. Okay, you don't have to read William Shakespeare to know that Donald Trump thinks Elon Musk is a pain in his ass. Elon Musk is getting too much attention. Okay, and he will flavorify Elon Musk right now because it owns the libs. It owns the libs to do this. But I know Trump's personality. Musk has gotten too much attention, and Musk will be meleeed by Trump as we get to September. By Labor Day, you'll see that this thing will dematerialize. And by the way, I like Musk's entrepreneurship. I'm not in love with some of his opinions. I'm not in love with the way he goes about certain things, but he is a brilliant guy, and I wish him great success. I'm glad that he's here in the United States as an innovator. But I don't think we want to do some of the things that they're trying to do from a process point of view. They're not classic American value-driven decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I don't know how many people know that he's actually Canadian. Like, he's got a Canadian passport. I don't know how many people know that.
Some of your Canadian natives are trying to get his passport revoked.
I know. I saw that. But, anyways,
they shouldn't do that. Leave the guy alone.
Yeah, leave him alone.
Go back to making rockets and cars, man. And by the way,
exactly.
you know what? He is an additive to the society, but I just think this shit with Trump is going to hurt him long term.
Yeah, he's no doubt.
Wish that on him, and I'm not saying he's going to be hurt physically, like they're trying to accuse me of saying. I'm not saying that. It's not good.
No, but it's such an interesting topic, and hearing your breakdown is much appreciated. Let's talk about your latest project. You are one of the busiest people I know. The Little Book of Bitcoin, what you need to know that Wall Street has already figured out. You've been a passionate advocate of crypto for a while now. And in this book, you do break down the transformative power of Bitcoin. Here's the question. What inspired you to write it now? And what do you hope readers take away from it, especially those who are still skeptical about the future of digital assets?
It's a great question. Okay. I wrote this book as an allegory. This is a story. Okay. This is a story of my skepticism. This is a story of Michael Saylor's skepticism. Most Bitcoiners come in skeptical. They don't understand it. And then they do the homework. Now, I'm not saying everybody that does the homework buys Bitcoin. Maybe there's 100 people who will do the homework. I do believe 90 people will buy it. Paul Tudor Jones, Stanley Druckenmiller, Ray Dalio, Michael Saylor, myself, Anthony Pompliano. You do the homework. You recognize that this is a hard asset. This is incredible software that has created a hard asset that represents value. And there's a technology associated with that asset where we can transfer it to each other without permission from a government or permission from a third party. If you understand that concept could save the world trillions of dollars. Said differently, if I go to a restaurant with you, if I can pay wallet to wallet with the restaurant, I save 3.5%. If I do a transaction with you outside of the circumference of the bank, I'm going to save money. There's $7 trillion spent in our global society per annum verifying each other's transactions. Let's face it, David, we don't like and we don't trust each other. So we always have third parties in the mix. If I'm going to buy your house, you're going to wait for your attorney and your bank to say my money hit your account before you hand me the deed. This is a decentralized network, hundreds of thousands of people working together, which create that. And when you really understand it, and you understand the technical aspects of it and the simplicity of it, it's something that can get you very excited. And you say, okay, this is going to be with us. Okay. And somebody says, well, Bitcoin is worthless. Okay. Is the Mona Lisa worth anything? Here, I brought props because I knew we were going to do this podcast. Here, I brought a prop. This is an Italian single in my neighborhood. You see this? Brought props. This is, go Google it. It's 75% cotton. It's 25% linen. And for those listening and not looking on YouTube, I'm showing David a $100 bill. It's got Ben Franklin's picture on it. It's got a counterfeit strip. Is this worth anything? No. It's a piece of fabric that's in my pocket. But if I give it to the valet who's dropping off my car, he's a happy camper because this is a piece of technology that he can use to get something that he wants. Okay, this is a technology that we use so we don't have to barter with each other. Bitcoin represents that. Someone tells you it's worthless, then they don't understand what it is. It's a piece of technology. I have digits in my bank account right now. Are they worth anything? They're digits.
Correct.
You're my auto dealer. You're my Mercedes-Benz auto dealer. You have a bank account. I have a bank account. What is your bank? It's a spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
My bank account says X. Your bank account says Y. We agree on the price. The digits in my bank account go down. Your digits go up. You deliver me the car. Okay, that's what this is. This is a hardened, fully distributed, fully transparent mechanism to exchange value in a society. And when you understand it that level, you're like, okay, I got to own some of that. That's going to be worth what gold is worth. Gold has got $18 trillion worth of value. This has $1.8 trillion worth of value. This could trade to where gold is. And people need to understand it and know, by the way, the American government, whether you like Donald Trump or dislike him, the American government is now more positively disposed towards digital assets than they were in the last administration. The UK government was already there. The Singapore government was already there. And so now people are looking around saying, whoa, we got to own some Bitcoin. So what do? We own Abu Dhabi's got it. The state of Wisconsin has it. And so over time, David, this is going to be owned by enough people where all of us together are going to say, yeah, that's a digital store of value. That's the message of the book. It's not a technical book. It's an allegory book. It's people's odysseys into Bitcoin, my own skepticism, and how I transformed into a believer and why.
Yeah, I think that's important because, you come from a traditional investment background, right? And so there's a lot of misconceptions about Bitcoin. What do you think the most common misconception about Bitcoin is among traditional investors? Maybe you kind of answered it there, but
the most common misconception, I would say, is the riffraff associated with it. This thing got started and then it was used in the Silk Road. It was used for drug trafficking. It was used for nefarious activities. And so the most common thing that I would like to break is, okay, it started that way. By the way, the internet started as a pipe and plumbing for porn. Okay, it wasn't doing super well until the pornographers realized they could use it, and then pipes expanded, and then everything else got dumped into it. So it didn't start out well, but that period of time is over, and it's not a money laundering vehicle because it's easy to trace things on the blockchain. That's something I would like to dispel.
Yeah. It's an interesting, we had Dr. Saifuddin Amos on the show as well. And we broke down because the guy is just a
Bitcoin standard, brilliant guy.
And we had a fantastic discussion with him about, proof of work and it's the mining that gave it value. And once all Bitcoin has been mined, where does that go? It finds a way, which was really interesting. But in the book, you do highlight the disruptive nature of Bitcoin and crypto, which, really resonates with us and me and our company. Obviously, we're a real estate brokerage that transacts in crypto, have for many years. We actually help our agents create a crypto portfolio. We pay them in crypto. Besides that, or keeping that in mind, what industries do you foresee being most impacted by Bitcoin and crypto in the next, 5 to 10 years?
So I actually think Wall Street will be impacted. I think we're going to tokenize stocks and bonds. Probably going to tokenize real world assets like real estate eventually, but stocks and bonds, instead of going from when I started in the industry, it was trade date plus 5, took 5 days for the stock to land in my account. It's now trade date plus 1, but with the blockchain, it could be trade date plus an hour. And so we will tokenize. The other thing is the restaurant industry will be impacted. There'll be a digital dollar on your phone, a Canadian dollar or a US dollar. You'll go to the restaurant and you'll be able to pay them and bypass the 3.5% service charge. And by the way, we're doing something like that right now, because if this was 40 years ago, we couldn't have the George Jetson conversation that we're having over Zoom, but we could have a phone conversation. But let's say you lived in London and I lived in New York, we'd be getting charged by the minutes from our phone operator. Fast forward now, I can go to any cafe in London, log into their Wi-Fi, and make this call for no cost. Yes, there's a monthly charge to the provider, but the point that I'm making is that's where we're going with financial transactions. Financial transactions now, we're still charging a per transaction fee every time we do something, and we're not going to do that anymore. That's going to go away. So the restaurants are really going to be deeply impacted. I'll tell you this quick story. I was with a group of El Salvadoran economists, and they were here for the UN General Assembly meeting 6 months ago, back in September. And the guy said to me, we have 15 million El Salvadoran expats in the U.S. When they send money back to mom and dad, they got to go to Western Union. They're all unbanked, David. They put a $100 bill or 10 $100 bills on the table, $1,000 on the table. 10% of that goes to Western Union. $900 goes back to mom and dad. A wallet-to-wallet transfer over the Bitcoin network, you're going to save $400 million a year for those expats and their family members. And so that's going to happen. The same way you and I are making a relatively costless call over the internet with a phone line and a camera, we're going to be doing that in the financial world. I see that coming, and I want to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, us as well. Yeah, well put. When we take a look at Bitcoin, it's deflationary properties, and its potential to preserve value over time. And you referenced it, Bitcoin is like a digital gold, or do you see it evolving into something even beyond that?
This is the question I get in trouble with Saylor, right? So Michael Saylor wrote my foreword. And so I think
that's impressive, by the way, that Saylor actually did write the.
Let me just look. Let me just look to the ceiling. I just want to make sure there's not a Michael Saylor Predator drone over my head that's going to fire a rocket at me. Hold on, let me look up. Okay. So, because if Saylor was on this call, he would bitch slap you and me and say that this is digital property and this is operating software for the future and this is the money of the future. The Safadean Amos speech about the Bitcoin standard. I don't say that, and Michael gets mad at me. I say this is digital gold. That this will be a store of value, very similar to gold. And so gold has an $18 trillion market cap. Bitcoin's $1.8 trillion. I think it could go 10x where it is today. Now, if Saylor is right, then maybe we're going to 10 million a coin. If I'm right, we're going to 800,000, 900,000, $1 million a coin. Okay, and again, I'm not saying it won't move like gold moves after that, but I think it gets there over the next 5 or 10 years, and I want to be there for it. This is one of the best investments that I've observed in my career, and I want to be there for it.
Yeah, makes sense. Us as well. You said it. You were a skeptic of Bitcoin, right? What was the turning point? What was the turning point for you?
The turning point for me, believe it or not, I was actually in the White House, okay? And I always tease people, I say, this happened on a Wednesday, David. I know that because I was only there for one Wednesday. That's how I know, right? But I was meeting with a group of Fed officials that were talking about the potentiality to digitize the US dollar over the blockchain. And I was 5 years removed from my Hal Finney discussion. Hal is now deceased, but Hal Finney, who got the first Bitcoin from the Satoshi wallet transferred to him, was a big proponent of it. May even have been Satoshi Nakamoto, I don't know, but I didn't understand it. And now there I was 5 years later, and the good Lord was presenting me with the blockchain and the potentiality of the Federal Reserve digitizing a US dollar. And I said, okay, this is not an apple hitting me in the head. This is a asteroid. I got to figure this out. I got fired a few days later. I went back to SkyBridge. I bought the website skybridgebitcoin.com. I did the homework on it, and I will, again, be as candid with you as always. I was scared of it. was like, oh my God, I'm a traditional institutional investor. My clients are going to be really mad at me if I buy this asset. A lot of skeptics about this asset. Warren Buffett hates this asset. And I bought the asset.
Peter Schiff.
Peter Schiff. And Peter and
Schiff.
I have debated each other many times. And Peter Schiff hates it. And I went and bought the asset. And I look like a genius in 2021. I bought the asset at $12,000. I went to $69,000. And my client said, you're a genius. Thank you so much. And then in 2022, it went from $69,000 to $12,000. You're an imbecile. I'm pulling my money. And I went from genius to imbecile. And I'm not a genius and I'm not an imbecile. And now it's about 80 something thousand. And the people that stayed with me are very, very happy. And the question is, where is it going from here? And I believe that this asset will trade to 200,000 in the next 12 to 18 months. And you just have to be patient.
Yeah, and I think you answered, my next question about, where you see it short term and long term. I think there are some predictions of, 150 to 200 over the next year, possibly. I mean, it was a 20% correction, I think, recently. I don't know what we're at right now this morning. But it's been interesting. You mentioned Al-Fidi. Did you see the video of Michael Saylor on stage with Scottie Pippen where he said he met Satoshi? Did you see that video?
He met him in 1993, he said, and then Saylor was like,
yeah,
what?
I mean, I've seen that video like 100 times and I laugh every time I see it, but that was an interesting one. Okay. I was going to ask you about CBDCs, but I think you kind of covered that. I did want to ask you, in the time we have left, just about like XRP and Ripple and the case with the SEC. That's been dragging out. I'm not sure. I don't even think it's wrapped up yet because it seems like it just keeps getting appealed and it's dragging out. I'm not sure if it's dropped yet or what's happening. It's been going on for years, but that seems to be kind of a pivotal case, right? So if Ripple ends up winning and being vindicated there, what type of ripple effects, pun intended, do you see for the broader crypto market, particularly in terms of regulation and regulatory clarity?
Yeah. Well, listen, I don't own Ripple. I like Brad Garlinghouse. I get along with him. I think a lot of Bitcoiners don't like him because he was so anti-Bitcoin. But I would say to you that I take a holistic approach to this stuff. If it's good for Brad Garlinghouse, it's good for Anthony Scaramucci, and it's good for Safadane Almos. Okay, Safadane is a Bitcoin absolutist. He's a Bitcoin maximalist. I have taken more of an open-minded approach to this stuff because I do think things like Solana will be used for tokenization. I don't really understand the use cases for Ripple, and I'm not against Ripple. I just don't own any Ripple. But I think that the fact that the SEC and the powers that be from the regulatory bodies are taking a more middle-of-the-road approach with all of these assets, I think is a good sign. I think it was very unfair that the SEC said, okay, we're going to sue first, and we're going to ask questions later. Excuse me, Mr. SEC, what are the rules? Well, we don't really know what the rules are, and you don't really know what the rules are. So we're gonna regulate you by enforcement. We're gonna sue you, and we're gonna force discovery so that our examiners can take a look at what you're doing, and then if there's something that you're doing that's wrong, we're going to accuse you of it. Yeah. But Brian Armstrong, God bless him, he went to the court system and said, excuse me, the regulators owe us definition to the regulations. And the court said, you are right. And they rebuked the SEC. And so, the Armstrongs of the world won this through the judiciary, and God bless, because it was overly politicized with the Biden administration. And then they won it in the election, the ballot box. Hate or like Donald Trump is a very astute political leader. He's got great political instincts. He's like, whoa, there's no anti-crypto votes, but there's money and there's votes that are pro-crypto. Guess what? I'm pro-crypto. How the Democrats allowed that to happen is beyond me, David, because Mark Cuban and I went to the White House, got on our knees and begged the Democrats to see what I'm explaining to you and your viewers and listeners right now. And the Democrats said, no, we're going to be anti-crypto. And Elizabeth Warren, we're going to have an anti-crypto army. And it turned out there were no votes for that. No, none whatsoever. They lost the House, the Senate. They blew the guy, Sherrod Brown, out of his seat, 18-year veteran of the Senate, blew him to smithereens, the crypto brothers. They put $40 million into that race. Hey, dummies, wake up. Let's have moderate policies.
Yeah, it's such an incredible industry. I'm really looking forward to the next few years in this space. It's going to be fun, I think. In the wrap up, I don't think we had a chance to, ask you about this. When we have a successful entrepreneur on a, CEO, leader, we like to talk about, some takeaways for others. We talked about leadership. What are some key qualities of effective leadership? Like, what makes a good leader to you?
Listening. Being a servant leader. Nobody works for Anthony Scaramucci. People work with Anthony Scaramucci. If you're on my team, what do you need? How can I help you? Delegating, creating a lot of autonomy in a situation. Here's the job. You do the job. If something screws up, I'll shoulder the blame. I'll allow you, give you some freedom to make some mistakes. I'm going to pat myself on the back for a minute, and please, I'm going to apologize, but I am able to do 2 podcasts, talk to you, write a book. I'm writing a book right now about Solana. I'm able to do some public speaking. I'm able to do some world traveling, and I'm able to run SkyBridge and our conference business. So nobody can do all that. Okay, but I'm able to do that because I've empowered a lot of super smart people inside that room that are doing jobs that people think I'm doing. I always tease my podcast producer. I say, you do all the work, I take all the credit. And so a good leader, I'm not saying I'm a good leader or a bad leader. I mean, some people think I'm a very flawed human being, and I accept that. But at least I have built a company where there's a lot of stability. There's people in that company 10, 20, 30 years. The company's about to celebrate a 20th anniversary, but believe it or not, there are people working with me that have worked with me since 1991 when I was at Goldman. And so, my driver was with me for 27 years before he retired. I like having stable situation where you're paying people more than the industry average, but then you're also asking them to do more than the industry.
Yeah. Delegation is an art. Delegation's an art.
You don't want to be a bottleneck, David. Okay. I have buddies of mine. Every decision's got to go through me. Okay. I'm not a bottleneck. I've got people calling me saying, I booked this guy for the SOL conference. Okay, great. By the way, we got to write an op-ed. I put your name to this op-ed. Okay. I didn't get a chance to read it. No, let me read it. Okay, great. My point is you got to let people run. Okay. And let them make some mistakes without you getting overly pissed off at them.
Yeah, I agree with that. Is there a commonality you see among successful entrepreneurs? Is there one thread through all of them, a certain commonality you see through all of them?
Yeah, nuts. The common thread is that they're all Looney Tunes, myself included. You are a little Looney Tunes, okay? I mean, these glasses you're wearing are fantastic.
Yeah, they're beautiful, right?
Yeah,
I like
it's a sign of your eccentricity, which I adore.
Okay.
And you're a little nuts, and you're relentless. That's it.
I like
everybody's a little nuts. But there's an X factor, right? Simon Cowell would tell you, David Morrell is going to eat through the wallboard to make his company successful. Okay.
That is true. This is true.
He's whatever's going to happen to David. Well, you want to fire me from the White House? You want to take Bitcoin from 69 to 12,000? You want to wipe out half my assets during COVID? Okay, no problem. I'm standing. Let's get to work. That's David Morrell, and that's me, and that's what you need to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I agree with that, and that is true. Well said. Okay, as I said, I've said this a number of times. You're one of the busiest people I know. You laid out your your calendar there. What's next for you? What are you working on? Any current or future projects you're excited about? Yeah, I mean, you mentioned another book.
I'm writing a Solana book. Hopefully, to have it out in October. Just talk about the technical nature of Solana. I have a group of people helping me write it, so it's not just me writing it. I'm providing research and context. And I'll be in Europe. I'm doing a lot of podcasting. I'm speaking at a few places in Europe. And then I'm running SkyBridge. We have a SALT conference coming up in Bermuda in May. And then we have a blockchain conference coming up in Wyoming in August. And that's it. That's my life, my man.
That's so cool. Doing what you love, When
I hear that David Morrell wants me on a podcast, I tell my assistant, clear Clear my schedule.
That didn't happen. For the listeners, we had to beg to make it happen. Where do you want the people to find you, follow you, all that type of stuff?
I'm at Scaramucci on Instagram, at Scaramucci on Twitter and Threads. And the way you can find me is just Google my name, jump on my YouTube. If you really want to help me out, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I just crossed 100,000 subscribers. Make me look good. Make me look good to my young children. How does daddy have 100,000 YouTube subscribers? Go to YouTube, Anthony Scaramucci. Please subscribe, David. Make me
We'll
look
make
good
sure
to
we'll
my
put
kids.
we'll blast it out there. Always a pleasure. Thank you, Anthony, so much
God
for
bless, man.
joining us today. Real
well.
pleasure as always. Thank you so much. All the best.